Alright guys, so today we are doing the reliability video on the E36. Now, a lot of E36s are very similar, slight difference to the engine. This obviously is M3 S52 and very similar to the M52. And then slight variances on the 318i's with the M44 and M42. But overall, chassis wise is all the same. So we'll start with the body. It's starting to rain. Hopefully get this done before it dumps on us. Starting with the body. These cars all had paint fading problems. They all had windshield and rear window weather seal dry rotting problems. And we just replaced this rear after we buffed the car. And those kind of issues. A lot of the trim on these like to pop off. This one's had trim all replaced on it. And you can see here the gaskets along the door handles. Those have issues. Also, these door handles can break. It's like this one's probably been replaced at some point. And all that business. You'll see a lot of these body-wise with this little handle. This part is broken. You see any BMW has a lot of these emblems are always faded and coming off. These have been replaced, so that's always a good thing. Tail lights can fade. E36 headlight fade isn't near as bad. And you could wet sand and hit these with a buffer and fix those. And this car has side skirts. It's a later year. It's a facelift car. The early years do not have the plastic side skirts. And then there could be also rust problems on the rocker panels that don't have the skirts on it. On these side mirrors and the rear view mirror in the windshield, the glass likes to turn blue and get hazy and weird and so forth. And then really, it's not really a bad car. On the front end here, you can see the paint these years were prone to rock chips. This one has none on it. So it leads me to believe the car's probably been repainted or kept inside most of its life. But we're probably leaning towards repainted. And like I said, these headlights aren't as likely to fog up, and when they do, they're a lot easier to fix. E39 and E53 is the worst to buff the headlights and do things like that. I get really lucky on this one. The wheels are not delaminating. They're actually in really good shape. Actually, this one is slightly. Normal wear and tear, we'll call that. And these corner marker lights like to fade out. These are the old style amber orange ones. We might go to a clear one, so we could find. If it looks good, we'll go to it. If not, then we won't. Let's go ahead and give you a rundown of the engine really quick. So common problems on these, a lot of times this stuff likes to rot out and peel off. That's where the ECU is. At a more rare occurrence, these cars can actually get a water leak and flood the ECU. That's not as common on these as a lot. Like every BMW, start getting 150K or so, you're gonna need to replace the radiator where the ends crimp on it. It'll blow the seal out. All the thermostat housing, the bottle gets brittle, stuff like that. And then we went through on a couple of videos ago the ignition coil packs, and this is kind of a judgment of 100 to 150 to 100 to 200,000 miles. These are common issues. The PCV gets bad, the hose gets brittle, the diaphragm ruptures in the hose, which that goes to the oil dipstick over here. And there is a hose that goes in the bottom of the drain. That can get stopped up. You have to clean out the coat hanger. Throttle body boot gets rotten. This one's been replaced. The cold start valve sits behind the throttle body on this car. Those could be stuck. We still need to clean all that on this one. And then your oil pan gasket or sump gasket, oil filter housing gasket likes to leak. These plastic valve covers like to break. These are common problems you will see from 100 to 200,000 miles anywhere in that area. Secondary air pump on these is not as bad. This hose is rubber on these ears, and that does get rotten. Somebody has replaced that hose. Really on this car, somebody's done a lot of the work already, right? And then the mileage this car is, the vanos seals, the O-rings on the vanos probably need to be replaced. I could tell when it gets up on the power, it's a little sluggish getting on the power and so forth. So There's still a lot of things under the hood I haven't described. That depends on what engine you have. We're just doing a general rundown of this, this whole car. So alternator stuff is not as common to go out. Idler pulleys are common to go out. That's all a pretty cheap and easy fix at this point. This car, we're going to shift to the inside. This car has not been cleaned or anything. We do plan on pulling the interior out of this completely. A lot of times E36 seats do not hold up well. They get all cracked and dried out. A lot of the console pieces getting broken. You get sticky window switches there by the shifter, things like that. You can have broken vents, depends on how it was treated. As you can see, the steering wheel on this one needs some replacement, which that's all on the list to do. Window regulators on this car are notorious for going out. They're a pain in the butt to deal with. And like I said before, adds the broken door handle. As far as interior and the rear door panels do come apart on the four doors also. It's just not near as common on the four doors. This one is coming apart. This is all on the list to be fixed. If you have a two-door car, they are terrible about coming apart. You have to re-glue them. It's a total nightmare. A lot of guys are like, I want a two-door E36. Well, you're gonna have a lot of interior problems if you do that. And all the interior parts, seats and everything are different from a two-door to a four-door. And a lot of convertible to two-door, even though a convertible is a two-door, a lot of the parts can be different from a coupe to a convertible. Back seats on these don't usually have any issue with wear. This one's a little bit dry looking. That's all on the list to be done. You pop the back seat out, the fuel pump and center units underneath the back seat and the tank. That's all a very easy replacement. And at this mileage, this car's 170 on it. It probably wouldn't hurt to take a look at that and make sure nothing's dripping, nothing's having any issues. As far as transmissions on these cars, automatic transmission is a pretty tough transmission. A lot of them never get the fluid changed in them. That can break them. I would say our success rate of fixing a broken transmission with just a fluid change is over 90%. Especially if you haven't run it too long. How these will work, you run them too long on the same fluid, they'll start kicking out of gear. Eventually, you only have reverse. It can kick out of reverse. As the fluid gets dirty, it can't flow. The solenoids can't get the proper amount of fluid, and they're on. If you have a manual transmission, just like anything else, a lot of guys change over to automatic transmission fluid for the manuals. That's supposed to fix a lot of the shifting issues. You still have to change the fluid in it on a pretty regular basis to keep everything straight. Then your Guibo bushings for the dry shaft, things like that always get rot and carrier bearing. Those are very simple fixes. Front control arms. Control arms on this car are a lot more versatile than E46 or E39. So the lollipop bushing does go out. Sway bar links, as this one has sway bar, the paint's coming off the sway bar. Those are all things you have to look at, you know, to not have a problem when you're driving it. As this one needs struts, the struts on this one are particular only to M3. That's kind of a problem because they're very expensive because of that. They start about $600 and go up. Normal set's about $800 for 2 struts and 2 shocks. Crazy money. And E36 also suffers with the rear coil springs since they're separate than the shock. The bottom likes to rot off. Somebody's actually replaced these. And overall, not bad. If you buy one of these from somebody that knew what they were doing, somebody that loved the car, there shouldn't be too much of a problem at all. That's a basic rundown of it, guys. Hopefully this helps some of you guys buy some of these cars. And these kind of videos need to be very popular. And I think that's why people are looking to buy this stuff. They need some guidance. So here's your guidance, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll see y'all later. Have a good day.